How's it going, folks? My name's Matthew, aka EZBOT. We're back with another live stream starting 2025 off with a bang, with a Digitone stream. So what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be checking out Digitone II by itself. We are going to have the Octatrack on the table, but it will be, again, just doing performance effects. So no Octatrack production, just Digitone or Digitone, whatever you want to say. To me, it's always been Digitone because it's digital tone. That makes the most sense, but whatever. Digitone to music only. And we're going to start by discussing a bit of its feature set. And then we're just going to dive in making some music where I'm going to begin with the chord progression and doing some chord voicing. And maybe we'll talk about that a little bit too. But then introducing arpeggios and drums. I'm not sure what style or genre we're going to be making today. We're just going to start making some chords, so probably not anything techno, probably along the more of an electro lines, I suppose. I don't really know. But I really wanted to play with the Digitone by itself. I'm feeling very inspired by the Digitone and by how this synthesizer can do everything. The upgrade from Digitone 1 to Digitone 2 is so extreme. It's so big, and so is the Digitakt 1 to Digitakt 2. I think the jump from 1 to 2 is really worthy of calling it a 2, and I know this is something we've discussed a bit before on this stream, but it's just kind of incredible to me because the devices haven't been out for that long that we have such a significant jump. Octatrack's been out for, what, 12 years or something about? And we don't have an Octatrack 2, so these boxes are clearly the focus for Electron because they're just, pumping them out, I guess. So I'm excited to jump into it. I have a little bit of an idea of what I want to do. I'm going to kind of start with a minor chord, and we're going to be playing with some of the bass voicing of the minor chord and creating a progression with that. And then I'm going to be using some exponential envelopes, some LFOs to do some ducking type sounds with it. I want to have like some pads going in the background and throw some drums down. And then I'm going to decide the tempo from there. I'm not really sure. Right now we'll just leave it at 120 to keep things really simple. Even though I do think starting with a tempo kind of helps you decide what kind of music you're going to be making when you decide on a tempo first. But 120 is just a really chill, easy spot to sit in, and then we'll kind of adjust it from there. So that's what we're going to do today. And I'm going to do it for a couple hours. So thanks for hanging out. I look forward to chatting with everybody during the stream. And while I'm saying that, why don't I say what's up to the chat? What's going on, folks? Richard, what's up, dude? Yolan, hello. Wash hands is your emoji. Right on. Jamie, welcome to the stream. Jan, how's it going? Joe, Schnoodle, what's up, Schnoodle? Good to see you here. Happy New Year, everybody. Yeah, I think Joe says this is Electron outdoing themselves. That's kind of how I feel about it too. There are, in my opinion, a couple of bugs still happening in my Digitone 2, and I don't know what's coming from. I think it's coming from my Octatrack. I think it's sending out MIDI CCs the Digitone is not happy about, or audio CCs, even though I have it turned off. I'm not really sure if that's the culprit or not, but when I leave it on for too long, it just sticks with one voicing, which is strange. But yeah, let's dive into it. So Digitone 2, what is it? It's an FM synthesizer. It's using the FM synthesizer engines in various configurations that you can choose from. So you have multiple synth engines you can choose from in your synth page, function synth, and you can pick these different synth engines. You also have a MIDI engine that you can use these 16 tracks on. I do think that this is a great box for sequencing your external hardware, whereas I used to feel really strongly about using the Digitakt as my external sequencer, but now that there's the note edit mode here, which isn't available on Digitakt, this is now my go-to, in the Electron realm for sequencing outside of the Digitakt. And what I think is really cool, and kind of what has excited me about the Digitone, and what I keep thinking about, is how I don't want to play with other boxes with the Digitone. Like, I do want to have my Digitakt and my Digitone. I think they're like the ultimate combo, especially them paired with an Octatrack and doing the separate bus situation with the Octatrack, using like effects that are just affecting the drums with the Digitakt and just affecting synthesizers with the Digitone. But the Digitone does a great job of making drums now. It does such a good job of making drums. And the kind of music that you make when you just stick to the Digitone itself, or when you just stick to one machine, really, is what I'm getting at, is you make unique sounds or unique songs that way because you're stuck in the realm of what that one box has to offer. And those limitations are pretty cool. And they make you get a little extra creative in maybe ways you wouldn't get if you had a sampler. Because with a sampler, you really can't just say, well, I want that sound, I'm going to get it. And that's the advantage of samplers. You just take whatever sound you want and you put it in the machine. On Digitone, you have to craft the sounds that you want, and sometimes it just doesn't do the sound that you're thinking, and you end up with something else, and that isn't a bad thing, in my opinion. I think that is a pretty good thing. My headphone cable keeps getting loose. Oh, my God. And, another advantage of sticking... Jesus Christ. Of sticking with one box is just less cables to worry about, less things that go wrong. And so I'm kind of inspired by that idea as well, where I'm just like, I just want to play with one machine. And I was, also thinking about this. There's not very many synthesis types like FM that are able to do all the sounds, right? I really feel like FM is the one synthesis concept that lets you, and I don't mean just frequency modulation. I mean the FM synth engine using algorithms and operators. I really feel like FM synthesis is the synth engine that can cover all the bases. It really is great for drums. It really is great for some natural sounding acoustic type sounds. It does a better job than simple subtractive synthesis with simple waveforms and a filter for creating unique textures and percussive sounds, whereas basic subtractive synthesis with your sine, saw, triangle, and pulse wave, they just don't do a great job at getting the the harsh tone and metallic tones that you can get from an FM synth engine. And so with the combination of multiple filter types, which is something new to Digitone II, we now have a low pass 4, which to me kind of has a ladder filter type feeling to it, more so than the other filter option that they have, which is not the legacy, but the multi-mode filter. The multi-mode filter is definitely the most useful filter on the Digitone II, I think, but I do like the low pass 4. It's a nice addition. And of course we have the comb filters, positive, negative comb filters, which are awesome. And then an EQ, which I don't use very often because the other filters are just way more fun and I'm trying to have a good time. And the EQ is kind of basic. It's not like a multi-band EQ or anything. I can't EQ like several points or anything like that. But I guess with combo with the bass width filter, you can kind of get that covered. So that's kind of why I think this is great. I was looking at other gear that I have in my studio, and I have a lot of groove boxes. Groove boxes are kind of like my favorite thing that I own and my favorite stuff to make music on. I love the idea of making music, all of the music, on hardware. I'm fascinated by it. It's definitely my focus. And I own a lot of groove boxes. I have all the Poly-N stuff. I have all of the Poly-N groove boxes, and they're all great and they sound good. And including the new synth, which I haven't gotten to play with too much. And then I have stuff like, an OPXY or OP1 Field, and they are kind of the all-in-one boxes too, albeit quite obscure. OPXY kind of venturing further away from obscurity and then back into obscurity with its strange workflow. I don't know. They went a whole nother direction, but there just isn't very many boxes that are just synthesizers and not also samplers that can accomplish the kind of goals a Digitone II or Digitone II, whatever, can accomplish because of the FM synth engine married with the subtractive synthesis. So that's a bit of my monologue here. I feel strongly about that. I think I'm, hitting the nail on the head when I say that this is a machine that's kind of nothing else kind of competes with it. There's nothing else that's offering 16 voices, 16 tracks, multiple synth engines, multiple filters, MIDI sequencing, arpeggios, master compressor, multiple modulation sources, a great sounding reverb and delay, as well as multi-tracking over USB. There just isn't anything. It kind of justifies its price point. I think its price point is quite fair. And I was happy to pay for it. I bought this myself. I didn't get this for free or anything. This is my Digitone II, and I love it. And it was worth every penny to me for those reasons. It has that incredible feature set. Sometime I would really like to do compare this box to this box and be like, here's your $2,500 versus here's your $1,100, and what's the sound quality and what kind of things can you achieve with them. And I do it in my head a lot. I don't share it, you know, with an audience because it's just, you know, it's a nasty fight between some machines. But yeah, this is a great box. I highly recommend it. If you haven't checked it out, you should. So now I'm going to get started with just generating some sounds. I think it's really fun to start, you know, from nothing. So let's just go to a blank pattern. And when you start on the Digitone II, and we're going to go kind of slow for people that are new, and because I want people who haven't played with the Digitone or don't know how to use Electron to be able to watch this and get an idea of how these machines work. So I'm going to kind of talk through the workflow as I'm going, and you can use that as a way, as a means of tutorial for you. But before we get started, let's not thank our not sponsor and ask them to sponsor us once again. LaCroix, please sponsor my channel. I'm very interested in having you as a sponsor. I'm looking for a sponsor for this channel, and I think it should be you. And a really strong competitor with you would be Polar. I really do like the orange Polar. So, you know, if you don't sponsor me soon, I've been asking you for a couple years, I might actually have to write Polar a letter and ask them to sponsor me. And, you know, I don't want to do that to you because I'm a big fan of coconut. You know, sponsor me. Okay, back to Digitone II. So let's crack this sucker open. Delicious. All right. Like I said, I want to start with chords. I think chords is always my favorite place to start, and the Digitone II does a great job of it because we have this awesome programmer. And here's a tip for new music producers and for people using the Digitone to remind you of this, because I know how to do chord voicing on a keyboard, but I forget that I know that when I'm programming on the Digitone because it doesn't offer you more than this, you know, 1 octave of notes. So when I'm programming a chord, I tend to do this. I tend to just go like, and I'll put in this really simple, or even I'll make it a 7th or something, or a 9th or whatever. It doesn't matter if I'm using 4 notes, 3 notes. What matters is that all of these notes they're really clustered next to each other. And this is a thing that I forget to fix. I don't need, if we're doing this C minor 7 chord right here, say I wouldn't play a C minor 7. The best sounding C minor 7 is going to put the voicing, in my opinion, this is an opinion thing, the best sounding chord is going to put the bass voicing of it a lot lower and not have those voices all next to each other. And I find myself doing this a lot because it just is what you're presented with. Try not to do it. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to take away this note, and let's just go down an octave and put them down here and see how that sounds. You can do function yes, and this will let you audition chords. This is a really cool feature that they added to the Digitone II, is that you can do this. That chord voicing just sounds a lot better to me. I did add, you know, it's a full octave on the bass. You know, I did add an extra note there so before we weren't listening to all those notes. But I think it sounds really nice, and this is a thing to think about. Remember to do this. And now when you're making your second chord, what you can do is, instead of trying to find a whole nother chord shape and trying to find a whole nother chord shape, is to actually just leave the voicing from your original chord shape, which would be the 3, 5, and 7. Leave the 3, 5, and 7 where they are, but just move your bass around and you'll get a very moody feeling. And that's what we're going to do. So that's how we're going to start this off. Right now we're just using the basic engine, or the basic FM engine. We haven't adjusted anything. I'm going to switch it over to Wavetone because I like the Wavetone engine. I play with the FM engine a lot, and I haven't played with the Wavetone engine enough, so I want to mess with it more. Yes, so that's what we're going to do. I think that chord sounds great. This C minor 7 chord with the bassing, or the voicing in the bass, the bassing. Wow. I'm not getting much sleep over here. Okay, so What's cool is that when you leave this, or you don't even have to leave this, if you just hold function, it illuminates where you have your chord voicing, and you can actually hold it, hit copy, go here, hit paste, and you can move the chords around like this. So like we could go, and that's really nice and very convenient workflow. I like it a lot. What's great about this concept too is that if we take this chord shape and we go, hey, we're going to put this chord shape down here and paste it. Now I want to leave those voices that I talked about in my chord. I wanted to leave the 3, 5, and 7 in my voice and move my roots to somewhere else, which will change the chord altogether. It'll typically create an inversion of another chord. It'll make this sound very nice. So let's go down. We're on we're on this second chord now, right? We haven't even done any of the page scaling or adjustments. We haven't applied a scale to the Digitone, which we can do, and maybe we will. But right now we're just playing with these 16 steps. We're just thinking about chords and voicing, and having them all in this single 16-step pattern isn't necessarily how we're going to keep it, but it's a nice way to hear that chord and hear another chord and hear another chord and hear another chord all next to each other very quickly, so that we don't have to go through pages and audition and try and remember what the last chord sounded like. We can just hear this chord running into the next chord, and hear our progression before we expand it out across our timeline. These are just my experience with these boxes. This is stuff that has helped me write music and keep things easy for me, is thinking of it in this way. So let's try that out. So I'm going to go to this identical chord to this one, and I'm going to adjust the bass voicing. And if I say anything, feel free to hold me accountable. If I speak out of turn here and I say something that isn't right, if I'm talking about theory and I misspeak, can I say misspeak? I don't think that's a thing. If I have misspoken while I'm streaming here and I'm talking about music theory, please correct me. I would like to remain teachable. I am not the all-knowing god of music and theory. So I learn what I learn and I apply it where I can, and I would like to know when I'm wrong. So anybody feel free to help me when that comes up. All right, we're back. So here we are in our chord voicing, and I know that I want to change C4 and C3, and this is also cool. We don't actually have to go in and adjust it with the keyboard, even though it is really nice to do. But we can just go down here and just, start changing it right here and auditioning it like this. So we could go. And the problem with that is because this is addressing the original note, is that it's moving all those notes, but it's a cool experience to be able to use it in this way. But let's go down here. We know that it's this note here. All right. We'll go to the G, and we'll go up here, and also go to the G. So now we have... We kept the most of the voicing the same and just changed the bass notes around. And it sounds really nice. And we are still using the sine waves. Let's change that out because that's just annoying. This doesn't sound as good as it could sound. As good as it could. Let's go to a sawtooth. Bring this one down. You can be a square. And an octave down. All right. Let's go back to our note edit. Let's make these plucky. Cool. Something I also like to do when I'm getting a project started, for those of you who are also new to Digitone and the Electron workflow, is going into your effects. The default effects, they're not great. I mean, they're good, they sound good, but the settings for them aren't fun for writing music. So what I want to do is go into my delay, and it's really nice to turn the ping pong on, because ping pong delay is a great feature. in my opinion. So I like to turn the width up, otherwise it's going to kind of sit in the center still, unless the sounds themselves were already panned, that it would pan. But this will pan the sounds for us if we adjust the width, and that's nice. And we can bring up our feedback as well. We don't really want to go too high in the feedback because the feedback will actually start to feedback in a not pleasant manner. And the filter can be nice to use too. It's already filtered quite a bit on the high end. It's kind of like it's shelved down pretty good by default, and I think it's a good spot. So Electron didn't do a bad job there, but they've kind of assumed that, you know, you're gonna maybe not go and adjust your reverb and delay and make the tails longer. I don't know. I would have liked to just have them start off this way. It would be cool if they had added a feature that just let you like assign default settings to reverb, delay, and chorus that was just always set up that way. Whenever you turn the machine on, it was just like went to that. That'd be cool. A template, perhaps. All right, let's give this some reverb. And I said I wanted to do pads, and I didn't. And I know I don't. I'm not a liar, so I'm gonna do it. And I want to filter out the low end because it's a little too much. We need our, oops, let's go here, the attack's too long. Chorus might be nice here. I want to lock it in though. All right, let's get another chord. We want to get, I'd say we want to get it like at least 3 chords, maybe 4 chords. Reef, thank you for the tip. Zoom in. Zoom. All right. We need to see it a little bit better. We can do that. Octatrack isn't that important. Octatrack is life. Octatrack is my lifeblood. Is that better? Now you can see the Digitone II very well. Hey, you're welcome. Seems like other people liked using it. Liked me to zoom in. That's great. No drinks on the dance floor. Well, today there is. I'll just pour this right onto the Digitone II. Give everybody an anxiety attack. Okay. Let's get another chord. So back into our note editor, and we'll... Is this the one? I want the chord... I guess I moved the G in the bass, the G chord, over to the 1 spot, which I didn't mean to do, but it doesn't matter. So I'm going to copy that chord and move it here. And now we're going to adjust the notes in the bass once again and see if we can find another sweet spot. Let's see. That's too low. No, I don't like that. Okay, let's maybe make one more, and we can adjust some of the other notes, the 3, 5, and 7 notes that we had in there, which are no longer relevant. And we'll go in here to our note editor. There we go. We built a chord progression. It was really pretty simple pretty easy, and I think these chords sound pretty good. Cool, we have a chord progression. We did it all on this single page. We're no longer gonna stick on the single page. We're gonna expand these chords out, and I'm gonna make them pump. I'm gonna make something pump. We're gonna make some pumpy, fun electronic music today. I don't wanna delete them. I'm gonna go function yes, I'm gonna save them to a temporary area because I don't wanna lose this. That'll be annoying to have to reprogram these chords. Reef, thanks again. Happy New Year's to you. So let's do that. So what I wanna do typically when I start, and copy this whole page actually. When I start a new project, before I get into this process, I just jumped right into this. Usually I do this first, is I change my track scaling and for all of the tracks. And that's how I like to do things. So I go function page, function yes allows you to change your track scaling. And I like to set this at 128, not just because we have 8 pages to work in, but because I like to work in 8 bars. And the convenience of working in 8 bars is that we often get stuck in that 4-bar loop. But if you just write in 8 bars, you can't get stuck in a 4-bar loop. Unless, of course, that's how you write your 8 bars, just a double of the 4 bars, which is not. Don't do that. So let's do this. And if I wanted to have some like polymetric rhythms introduced to this as well that didn't reset on the 128 or reset on the 1 every time, what I would do is I would actually set my reset to infinity, and I would use 128 over here on the change. And that will let me have my track scales be independent and the change happen when I tell it to change through the pattern change button. But for things that are odd numbers, they wouldn't reset on an even number like 8 bars or like 128 or 16. So if you want to do polymetric stuff, you set this over here to infinite and this to the number you want it to be when you want to change patterns, and you set your track length here, and that will let you do that. And we can actually do that because why not? We don't have any other boxes we're working with. We don't have to worry about there being some like weird settings going on with our timing. It'll just work. So we can actually go down here. And then while we're on infinite, we'll go up here to 128. And now we're still going to be working in 8 bars because we'll be able to do changes at 8-bar intervals. And now I just set my track scaling to 8 bars, if that makes sense to you, right? So this is how you would get polymetric stuff. So now if I wanted to, and we're not going to do this right now, but if I wanted to, I could go hold track. And I like to, when I go to a new track, I like to hold track instead of, because for one, you can be in your step editor when you're doing this, and that makes it very convenient. You can hold track and go to your next one, and you're still in your step editor. So when I'm just jumping from track to track, I'm always holding track. But the main reason, not just because it's convenient while you're in the step editor, the main reason for me is that when you're not, every time you go to another track, you audition another sound, and that often doesn't sound good, so I don't want to do it. And if you're playing a show live, you want to get used to holding track in selecting your tracks. You don't hit your tracks, randomly when you're thinking, I need to go to track 14 and adjust the filter cutoff. You don't want to hit that track because you'll make a note audition in the middle of your performance and will audition at your trigger default, which is usually C5. And if you're not playing in C major or another scale that has a C5 in it, it's going to sound bad. So keep that in mind. You hold track and select your tracks. It's the way to go. So, but what I was saying is we could go to another track. We could set our page to an odd number like 10, or no, that's even number. I'm stupid. To 9 or 7 or 5 or something like that. And we'll actually get to take advantage of the no reset and the polymetric scale that it would create, or the polymetric rhythm that it would create. So we can leave it like that. Maybe we'll jump back over to that later. Let's go back over to our track here. I also am keeping my synthesizer sounds on 9 through 16, and I'm going to keep my drum sounds on 1 through 8. And I'm thinking of this like Digitone 1, and this like my Digitone 2, I guess. But this more like I'm making me think in the old Digitone workflow. And these are going to sound nice once we start pumping them and add a kick drum that hits on the pump. It's going to sound good. I know it will, because these chords don't sound bad. But let's expand these chords out. So we'll keep this chord on 1, because why not? We can leave them in the order that they're in. This is not a big deal. If we want to move them off the 1, we can hold function and use the arrows, and we can move our sequence around and try it. Like maybe we could try it this way. Well, that doesn't sound bad either. So we changed where the 1 chord was. Originally it was this chord. Let's see. Let's just leave it this way, because it doesn't actually matter, because we're writing music right now. We're not trying to play something else that's already been written. We get to do whatever we want, and I love that. So I'm going to take this chord, and we're going to go to... I don't even know, where do I want to do them, though? Now I got to think about that. We'll at least go to... We only have a few chords, and I want them to be... We'll go here and paste it. Get rid of these. Get rid of these, because it duplicated our original page. That's why we're seeing those notes there. We want to go back to page 1, which I can just hold this now and go to the page. Take this chord, and I'm going to jump to page 5. So we'll go to 5, paste it here, and get rid of them. And then I want to go back to page 1, and I want to take this chord, and we're going to go here, put it here, and get rid of these. 2, yeah, 2 doesn't need these. Okay, so that is our... Well, let's make sure that I didn't screw this up. Okay. Okay. Looks like I did it. I did it correctly, so now I can erase these notes, and we're good. Now let's make this more of a pad sound, and let's make these triggers last the length that they're, well, the length between each note. Let's just have it fill it all the way up, and then we're going to use modulation to create rhythm on the chords, initially by making a ducking emulation. We're not going to use the master compressor for ducking. We're going to use a modulator to make it sound like we're ducking. So let's see. Yeah. Oh, this is what I wanted to do today, and I'm just happy that I'm doing it. And so thanks everybody for hanging out. And I think it sounds good. I really want to modulate the pitch. I just want vibrato. And I wish that vibrato was just a setting. That's something I really like about, well, I don't have it over here, but about the M8 tracker. I talked about the M8 tracker. Somebody said on my Patreon today that I secretly like the M8 tracker more than the Digitone II. And I laughed to myself when I read that, because I was like, you know, sometimes that is true. Sometimes that is true. I really do like them both about the same, though, but I really love the M8. And one of the things the M8 has that I wish this had, this is a feature request to you, Electron, if you ever watch this, is just vibrato. You gave us this wonderful portamento adjustment right here. We just have portamento. It'd be so cool if these little boxes right here was vibrato depth and vibrato speed. Right? Yeah, that's me saying that I don't even need another mod. I just want vibrato depth and vibrato speed right here, and it would be awesome. Right? How much polyphony per track? 16 is the max polyphony. So as Mark Jacobs is sharing down there, it does voice stealing, which we're not going to run into while we're playing with the Digitone, because I'm going to be conscientious of the voices that I'm using. So we're not going to run into any voice stealing, but that is how it would approach that scenario. So say you really wanted to have a 16-note chord, which would be silly, but well, maybe not. I don't know. Whatever your sound design brain comes up with. Maybe you come up with something cooler than I would with 16 voices on one note. But you could take 16 voices on one note, and you can set up the voice stealing in ways that'll say like steal the high voices, steal the low voices, or steal the mid voices, or steal the last voice. There's lots of configurations for the voice stealings to make your music still sound like your music or the way you've intended it to, by keeping some of the important sounds around, like don't steal my bass, don't steal my kick drum, you know. So you can lock in voices to certain channels, which is really cool. You'll find that here. It's great. So yeah, another awesome feature from the Digitone II. Well, let's get back into making this track. Okay, so what I want to do is I'm going to go function yes. We're going to save this. In fact, I'll just save the whole project. Easy set 2, because I'm working on building a new set. I'm going to go to my modulator, and we have 3 modulators on the Digitone II. We have 3 modulators on the Digitakt II. Pretty sick. And I'm expecting, I'm hoping, I'm not expecting because I don't actually know, but I'm hoping that we see another mod. I don't know, why not give us more LFOs? I want more LFOs. I think the computer in here could handle it, but I'm expecting to see just an envelope. So right now, what we're doing is we're just playing with, what I'm going to do is we're going to use an exponential envelope because it's the closest thing I can get to what would look like a decay envelope in that smooth curve, instead of just a straight line going up and modulating via linear curve. We're going to use an exponential curve, which sounds really nice when it's slowed down and not just like a really quick exponential curve like you would use to make a kick drum or a snare, something like that. And we're going to use that on the volume, and we're going to duck this for now on 4 on the floor, and then I think I'm going to move the kick and the chords around together. We'll have the kick and the chord happen at the same time, and then maybe we'll use the arpeggiator for the bass line, and then we'll get into programming some drums. That's my goal, at least. We'll see if we get that far. We're trying to do this in a 2-year time period. 2 year in 2 hours. My God. Okay, so here's how you do it. I've saved this to a temporary area because I don't want to screw this up, because I like what I have with my chords. I think they sound nice. What I want to do is get an exponential envelope, and I want to assign it to the volume. I'm just going to grab the amp volume really quick, which is right here. And then I'm going to change this to the exponential envelope because that's what I said I was going to do. Here's my exponential envelope. I want my mode to be set to 1 because I want my exponential envelope to only cycle 1 time. I just want it to happen once. This is how you kind of treat this as an envelope. And I want my depth to go negative because it's a bipolar LFO, which means that it can go positive and negative with its modulation. And then I want to play with my BPM and speed to taste. And that's what we're going to do here. Another thing I want to do is I want to go into my LFO trig menu. So this is in the trig menu. You can set up whether your triggers that you put down on your sequencer reset your LFO's phase. The phase of your LFO is what point you're in during the LFO's oscillator shape, right? So if we're going through an exponential wave, the phase, like midway through the phase, would be halfway through this wave shape, right? So what I want to do is I want to make it so it always resets this wave shape on the 1, right? But not on any other moment throughout my chord progression. I just want to do it when I tell it to do it. And that's what we're going to do. When we set this to 1 and we have the LFO set to trig, which I'm going to turn off and then turn on just the notes that I want it to trigger on. And I'm going to do it on some other spots, like here and here. Like I said, we're going to keep it 4 on the floor for now. We're going to adjust these around as we get further into the track. But for now, I just want to be able to hear this with a simple rhythm. And what we're going to do is we're going to turn LFO trigger on these spots where notes are, or where new notes are not being generated. And this sound is just carrying over, and this modulation is going to affect this chord that's going through these 2 bars. So now I'm going to go over here. We could just copy this one and go to this next page, and I'm just going to paste it in here. And we could do that throughout the whole thing, and we are going to for now. I'm saying that we're going to do it for now because I'm trying to hold myself accountable to not make anything 4 on the floor. Doesn't sound bad or anything like that. It's just not what I want to do. And I don't say something, I might not follow through. This is exactly what I said I wanted it to do, and look at that. The Digitone does it. This is emulating what a sidechain compressor would do if you sent a kick drum into your sidechain input. So check this out. This is another thing that I really like. We're going to draw a lot of comparisons to my other new favorite or whatever, the M8 tracker. And one thing I really liked about the M8 tracker, and I was like, I should just do that on my Digitone. And the M8 tracker has a trig envelope. It has an envelope that can be triggered by other tracks or other instruments. So you can have 127 instruments and it can trigger this LFO. We can't do that on the Digitone, but we have, you know, way more modulation than we can do here than we can on that device. Well, different modulation options, which is cool. And I like that both instruments are different. But one of the things that I like doing on that instrument, on the M8 tracker, is sending a trig to a modulator and having that modulator not do ducking, but have the modulator like open a filter or adjust the FM, for instance, with the Digitone. So we can go with this exact same LFO, hold this down, hit copy, go to our next LFO page, hold this down and hit paste, and we have now a duplicate of this envelope shape. You know, we kind of recreated an envelope in our modifier, and we're going to take this and we're going to apply it to another parameter. So instead of using the volume, let's just grab something else. For instance, our filter frequency. Or filter type would be weird. You want to hear what that sounds like? I bet that doesn't sound great, but we could find out. It does nothing, apparently. Okay, well, we learned that. And that's probably because we're on a filter type that can't go lower, because we have it set. Actually, yeah, we just adjust this. Yeah, there we go. So this is actually modulating through filtered types, but it sounds pretty nice. So at the end there, it's going to the legacy filter, but it's going through the comb filters too. That's a unique sound. I like it. Let's stick with it for now because it's kind of just a fun idea. I didn't even realize I could do this. I didn't realize I could modulate the filter type with an LFO. That's a strange thing to do. And I like it. But now what I'm gonna use, because we were talking about vibrato, I really want these chords to have more of a Tame Impala vibe, if you will, and or Boards of Canada. Well, the Boards of Canada one would be much slower and kind of out of sync with the tempo. The Tame Impala would just be lots of vibrato on everything, very Juno sounding, which is where we're at. We're kind of at a Juno-esque sound where we're at now, and the Digitone's doing a good job of doing a classic kind of Roland sound. But I want to have some vibrato to it, so that's what we're going to use this last modulation source with. So I want to take the tune, which I thought there was a, there it is, master tune. Master tune, instead of oscillator 1 or oscillator 2, which is nice that we have the breakout for oscillator 1 or oscillator 2, but master tune is what we're after today. And I want to leave it on free running. That's fine. We could have it reset the LFOs. It's not going to make a huge difference in your sound design here. Maybe you're very particular about that, but when it comes to vibrato, it kind of can sound nice when it's just the free running LFO. We don't want to bring the depth up too much. I'd say above 0.30, my experience, anything above 0.30 is going to modulate it. If you're going too slow with your LFO, it's going to modulate it too much, and it's going to take it out of tune. It's going to take it out of the note, and it doesn't sound good. So we could like to bring it right up to that point and see how that sounds. Whoa. So that sounds nice. I am hearing a little click transient now, and I believe that that has to do with the filter type modulation and whatever we're doing with the master tune. So to me, there's a little click. It's so mild that it shouldn't be a problem, but I don't like it. So we're gonna stop this because I really feel like it's the culprit. Let's find out. Definitely. Yeah. That was an easy guess, right? Because it's a weird thing to do, to modulate the type. It's changing. That's like modulating like an EQ that's snapping from EQ to EQ to EQ. That's not going to sound good unless there's some sort of smoothing or interpolation that's going to be happening between those EQs. It's just not, you know, and that's not a feature that I could see any manufacturer putting into a device, because it's just a massive amount of programming, I would assume. Can you mod the synth machine? That's a good question. And I don't think you can, which I think it's strange you can modulate the filter type, but I don't think you can mod the synth machine. We'll look in a second, but let me fix this really quick. I do want to find another thing for us to modulate. And the best thing to do when you're trying to find something else to modulate is to, you know, do a temporary save and go into your synth engine and start messing with your synth engine and see like what sounds cool when you move it around, and then try and mimic that or do something similar to it with your modulation source. Do it by hand first and then automate it with your modulator. And that's kind of the workflow that I like to do. And that's what I would share. That's what I'm sharing with you that I think you should try as well. So let's have a listen. So this is our main sound here coming from the sawtooth. And you can snap, check this out, you can snap to waveform if you hold function. So cool, a good thing to modulate with something that's very, ooh, that sounds nice with that triangle. That sounds really nice on the triangle. A cool thing to modulate, of course, in a subtractive engine like Wavetone, if we would use a pulse wave, would be, or any, doesn't matter, it doesn't have to be a pulse wave. We have pulse width modulation, or pulse, this is your pulse pulse width here, and we can modulate that. And that always sounds good with a pulse wave because it makes the wave sound huge. It like adds this hollowness to the note. Do you know what I mean when I say a hollow sound? There's like sounds that sound like everything is there but the middle of it, and it's a weird thing to describe a sound like that, but that's what pulse width sounds like when it's modulated. It like creates this bubble around the sound, and in the middle of it is really just air, but there's bass to it, and there's high end, and there's a little bit of mid, but it's kind of missing. I don't know. That's just something I've noticed. I don't know if other people feel that way too. But modulating that would be a good idea. But let's check out some of these other spots here, because there's so many things to modulate that we can modulate, and we don't have any of this stuff turned on, which is changing like the waveform from primaries wave shapes to a wave table, which you can modulate, which might not be a bad idea. So we could try that out. Let's see how it sounds when we go to the harmonic wavetable as opposed to the primary wavetable. Look at our wave shape now. Very different than the Juno sound that we had before. So now this would be a good one for us to modulate. We might go back to our primary wave shape, and rather than using this harmonic wavetable, because it sounds to me, I'm getting that hollow sound now, and I don't necessarily want it to be, I don't know. This sounds awfully FM, and wavetone to me is supposed to sound like a classic subtractive synth or FPGA type of simple subtractive vibe. But let's try modulating this with our other modulator that we were using that's identical to our, or the identical shape and trigger type to our volume modulator. So we want oscillator 1 wavetable. Oh, I'm still on the filter type. I didn't hit yes. So now we're doing the same envelope, but in an inverse. So we're using it to modulate positively at the same time as our ducking is happening. And here's going negative with that modulation, which I think sounds pretty good, actually. Let's mess with this for a second. So let's take what we currently have. Let's just throw a kick behind it on 4 on the floor, just like we have with this, and then we'll do some copy paste to move those kicks around so they're in some more unique positions as opposed to being so simple as 4 on the floor. But it's real nice to start off this way because it's very easy to feel a groove. We'll keep this at 16 because we don't need to be beyond 16 notes currently, which is very convenient. And now with the page jump and being able to move through different tracks so easily, we can easily adjust our drums compared to how it was with Digitone 1 or Digitac 1 or all the other Electron boxes. Oh, except for Syntact, because it does have that update. So here we go. I'm going to throw it out. It's already the coolest song you've ever heard. And we're going to switch this engine to FM drum. Take this down 2 octaves. It's a really nice bass sound on its own, just with these sine waves. But let's add some sweep and some sweep time. And let's go down. We don't need to play with that modulator. This is the body, so this is the whole sound. Because you have a transient, but with the kick drum, the body is pretty important. However, I don't need it to be going as long as my notes go. Now we can give it a transient. So now there's some, sounds like we have some punch to our kick with the transient. I believe these are samples. So if you ever complain the Digitone doesn't have samples, you're wrong. Or it's a wavetable of transients. Regardless, it's a sample. We could also just use noise if we wanted. No, I like the transient better. So this is where we're at so far. We programmed some chords. We took an initial chord shape, which was a minor 7th chord, and we took the bass notes. We went down a few octaves, so we weren't using a first position chord, and made it sound a lot bigger, wider, more tasteful, I think, by moving our bass, which was an octave, and we're playing like essentially like we would with me see if my other camera's on. Oh, it's not. Okay, never mind. I was going to show you the synthesizer actual keyboard, but it just sounds much better that way, to put the bass notes down in the bottom. Play the bass with your left hand and play the higher notes with your right, and it makes sense on a keyboard. So I'm just applying that logic to the Digitone. Then we went into the FM drum, or we did some modulation to those chords using trig on and trig off with our LFO trig, so that it didn't reset the phase and only reset the phase when we wanted it to. So it sounds more like what we would do in our DAW or DAW or whatever you want to say, using a sidechain compressor and sending a kick through. And now we've created a kick drum using the FM drum very quickly, shaping this kick drum together, which is playing on 4 on the Floor. And that's where we're at right now. And we're 55 minutes in. But we're at a place where the music is going to start just happening now. Once you have a progression down, it kind of just... it's just going to come together from here. We can steal these chord shapes and bring them to another track and turn an arpeggiator on and just turn a patch on and start playing with the notes. And it's just going to generate music that sounds good because we already have a bed. We have something decent. And we can even make these chords sound like different chords by adding another track that is a bass, like an actual bass. And we could just high pass a little bit of the low end off these chords and use bass and then move those chords around to become different kinds of chords throughout our 8 bars that we're playing. I do kind of want to go back to our original chord because I kind of liked the Juno vibe that we had. So I'm gonna go back to the primary wavetable. Well, that sounds nice, going negative with that. Triangle for vibrato always seems to work the best, in my opinion. Or that I've noticed in other people's patches. Which has shaped my opinion of it quite a bit, as you can tell. Okay. Now we have our chords. We have a kick drum, which doesn't sound amazing. It needs to be worked on, but we have something, and I want to make it sound a little bit... I want to change the rhythm up, so it's like, let's think about it. So I don't want that kick. I want don't want the kick here. Maybe we could. That's a pretty cool rhythm, I think, for our kick right now. And now what if we apply this rhythm to our ducking sound so that the rhythm matches where these kicks are? And makes a huge, huge difference if we do this. If I left it this way, like we do have the rhythm happening, but it sounds like they're kind of like arguing with each other. They don't want to do this. They want to sync up. They want to play together. They want to be friends. So I'm going to go over here and we're going to move it so that it matches this shape, which is 1-11-15. So we just need to remember 1-11-15 and apply that. So we'll go like this, copy, and we'll say 11. We'll delete these. 1-11-15. And now we have to do that again on these pages. So we'll go like this. 1-11-15. Copy the page, hold page, select copy, and let's go to these pages and just fill them out really quick the way that we want them to be. And now we have to manually go in and edit these to do the same thing. Otherwise, it won't, work out how we want it to. Let's go back to that page. 1-11-15. And we'll go 11-15 by and 11-15. Here we go. Let's have a listen to see what we did. Yes. We're definitely not going to use sine waves over that chord progression. I kind of want to use some plucks that like that kind of thing. Like that's kind of what I'm hearing a little bit. And then maybe like an arpeggiated bass line, something that's really driving this track forward. Maybe that's wrong. I don't really know. But I do like the idea of the plucky sounds kind of playing with this chord progression. But before I do that, let's see what's up to the chat, because I know there's some folks hanging out in here, and hopefully you're enjoying this Digitone II tutorial. We're making some music from scratch. I'm going to answer some questions. Nayland Jane, where are you based? I'm based out of Seattle, Washington. Happy New Year, everybody. Yes, Happy New Year. Can you mod the synth machine? That was a question that was asked earlier. Let's just answer that one really quick, because I actually don't know the answer. And let's just go to the mod section, because I really don't think you can. So I'm assuming you can't. You cannot. Okay, that question is answered. Because that'd be cool, but doesn't seem like something they would want you to do anyway, because it probably wouldn't sound good. The wavetone harm table is cool with ring mod, sync, or phase distortion too. Gets more high harmonics. Yeah, good point, human program. Human program. Question, can we copy MIDI track trigs from between devices? No. No, you cannot. From between devices, you definitely cannot. But what you can do is send MIDI from one device to another and do live record, and that will do the same thing. And if you sync them, if you sync the transport and the clock to each other, it will essentially do exactly what you want. But you can't copy and paste something over from machine to machine. That's the only way. Looking to get into Electron boxes, looking forward to the journey. Yeah, right on. Yeah, I think they're a really fun machine to learn. They offer more they offer, it's, you know, if you like stepped modulation, which is what's really fun about electronic music, is that every single step you can throw, especially with Electron, you can throw down, 16 modulators on a single step. And that doesn't always sound good, but it's the idea that you can is fun to keep to keep you interested in the device, just knowing you can do some crazy shit. Happy New Year. Do you still play guitar? I do. I was playing guitar last night. And I was, I kind of picked up my guitar out of guilt. I was like, oh, I really fancy myself a singer-songwriter, and sure don't do that very much. And so I picked it up and started playing guitar, and I was happy to do it. It's also, guitar is like, it's harder for me to get myself to play, for one, because I don't teach guitar, and I teach these boxes, so I'm always interested in more and like getting like my bearings on these boxes deeper and deeper and deeper, and less on guitar, because it doesn't, I'm not good enough at guitar to teach anybody guitar. I'm a decent guitar player. I could play in a band and sing and play and whatnot, but I wouldn't say that I'm, good enough to be a teacher. That's for sure. Please talk me out of upgrading from Digitone 1 to... I'm not going to do that. I think you should get a Digitone 2. Circo, what's up? My homie Circo is here. We all love Circo. Go check out Circo's YouTube channel. If you're not familiar with Circo, go subscribe to his channel. Fantastic live techno producer. It's got all the tips and tricks, excellent courses that you can purchase from Circo and learn his improv techniques. Very, very cool. Highly recommend you check out Circo's channel. Digitone has been a dope experience. Yeah, Digitone is awesome. FYI, you can't mod Synth Machine. Yes, that's right. You cannot mod the Synth Machine, but you can change the preset on the trigger. Yes, you can change the preset on the trigger, which requires you to load the preset into the machine, or into your project. You have to go in and load your presets in, so you can do that. Is it possible to switch whole pattern scale to another in one move? No. I mean, yeah, the answer is technically yes, because when you're playing chromatic, if you know the scale, and I am assuming you're using a scale mode because you don't have all the scales memorized. I don't either, so it's okay. I went to school for music and I still have a hard time remembering all the scales and like relative scales and all that. It's still just like not on the top of my head, you know. And now I have all the features of these Electron boxes, so no shame on using scale modes. I'm all for it. But no, you cannot change. If you were using it chromatically and you knew the scales, you could switch the notes to the appropriate scale based on your knowledge. Without that, you cannot. But you can choose a scale and then work in that scale and then leave that scale, right? So you could program using the scale and then leave that scale and then go to another scale. But you can't do it like on the fly. DT2 is only better, I'm sure. It is. It is. Yeah. DN2. That's what you meant. Okay, yeah. Can we map the retrigs externally? I do know that you can send a trigger in, but I don't think you could do it without triggering a note. Do you get what I'm saying? So like you could put, you know, kind of do what you're asking, but you would trigger a note in the process, and that's probably the opposite of what you're going for. Unless you're trying to play drums on here, then it's a great idea. How would you describe in a few words what you've seen as the main difference and value between something like the Digitone versus the M8? And I know we're drawing comparisons to Digitone and M8. They are not the same at all. You know, they're just not. The Digitone and they do both have 4-operator FM synth engines, which does make them pretty similar. But the Digitone is a completely different feature set. It doesn't have sampling. It's not a tracker. I guess those are the main differences, honestly. But how would I compare them? I would say, like, if you wanted an all-in-one groove box and you needed to have samples, I would, you know, that's the value for the M8. The M8 is portable, it's battery powered, that kind of stuff. The Digitone is a 16-voice polyphonic synthesizer with audio over USB and 16 modulations per step and 3 mods. Well, the M8 does have more mods than that. It has 4 mods. But yeah. Wait, let me think about your question again. The main differences between them is that one's a synthesizer and one's a full groove box with battery in it. And that's the main difference. This isn't meant to get in your backpack. That would be the main difference. You would have to do MIDI tricks. Oh, you're referring to the trigger stuff. Do you think you can replicate machine drum sound on the Digitone? You know, I honestly don't know because I've never owned a machine drum. I've played on a machine drum before, and you know, for somebody like me who loves Electron stuff so much, and I'm not paid by Electron. I don't work for Electron. it just turns out I really like its workflow, and that's what happens here. There's no endorsement. Like, they're not endorsing me or whatever. And I'm, you know, I am endorsing them, but I guess, you know, they're not endorsing this channel themselves. But what I was getting at is I don't care as much about the older lineup from Electron because they made better stuff as they progressed. So the machine drum is super cool, and it has really interesting features, and so does the mono machine. And they're very akin to the, you know, to the Octatrack in so many ways, and the kind of like what, you know, what came before the Octatrack, and I like that. But there's so many things about the Octatrack and the machine drum and the mono machine that are just ancient in the thought process of how the Electron sequencer works now. Like, they have the sounds that they have that are really great in the mono machine and the machine drum, and the cool workflows that you can do. But like, it just has way less options, and the workflow is extremely convoluted. So I've kind of just stepped away from even thinking about picking that stuff up, and it's so expensive to get a machine drum. It's so expensive, and I'd just rather use something new. You didn't ask that question, but I just told you all that anyway. Nice that you have this live stream covering the D2. I'm at my parents' at the moment, but heading home tomorrow to the D2. Have to rewatch this. Yeah, you should. I talked through a lot of the Digitone II, and we're not done. I'm just stopping right now to say what's up to the chat because it's a day to be social, and this is what live streaming is all about, is interacting with the community, and that's what I'm all about, is the hardware music community. M8 is small. Yes. ARP and retrigs don't work on MIDI tracks. Yes, no ARP on the MIDI tracks. And the retrig wouldn't matter. So, what's up, Grey Wolf? You love your chiclets, but you're considering getting a DN2? What is chiclets? I'm assuming it's an FM synthesizer? I've never heard of chiclets. All right, well, I've just caught up with all the chat, so back to our production. And let's do a little minor recap here. So what we originally started off with is we had these kick drums working on 4 on the floor. We had these trigs, which are resetting the amp envelope. You know, it's doing a exponential curve to a negative depth on the volume so that we can create a feeling of ducking, or the sound of what would be sidechain compression ducking. But we moved those triggers, and we took advantage of this page jump that we have now, which is so nice. And we have page loop that we can do too if we wanted to program something intricate on a single page. But we took advantage of this page jump and moved those triggers around so that we could create a more interesting rhythm than 4 on the floor. You can have a listen to how it plays out. Oh, that's what you meant. The chiclets of the Digitone II. Okay. You know what I think would sound really good with this? I know we're really missing bass. We need to shape this kick drum because the kick drum doesn't sound ideal yet. This is going to be a track that has a snare in it. For sure, maybe not a clap, maybe an actual snare. Maybe we'll speed this up too. So right now we're still playing in 120, and as I said, we're going to adjust the tempo, and so many of the things that we started off not adjusting, we're going to do later on after we capture some sounds that we think are good, and which is where we're at now. We're at this spot where we've captured some sounds that are good. Don't like the kick so much yet, but we have a kick, and we have some nice sounding chords. What I think would sound good on top of this before we get into the bass is a pedal tone. And if you're not familiar with a pedal tone is like a note that just kind of like hangs over all the other notes and it just stays. And I'm doing this because I'm thinking keyboard, and it kind of just stays there, and it's like it just goes across all of the other chords. So I kind of want to put a note in, or a sound that kind of acts as a pedal tone. Kind of similar to a drone. So let's find another sound. We could even borrow from this track, copy its sound, hold track, hit copy, copy preset, and now we could go to another track and paste that preset, and now this preset will sound identical to the one we had there before, and this can actually now start sounding like, we could actually do this multiple times, and it will sound like we're playing more complex chords and doing voice leading and stuff like that, which we're not going to do, I don't think. But this is an option. I just wanted to point that out. That's a way that you could do it. Just copy your sounds, move to different tracks, and then start programming your voice leading on those tracks. Right now, I just want to put a drone in. And I do remember that I changed the track length here because we were talking about doing polymetrics, and this is what you want to set up for doing kind of like polymetric scalings or polymetric rhythms with your triggers. But we don't want to do that. I actually want to set this to the length of our chord progression. And we're going to let the chord progression play, and then I'm just going to play on this keyboard until I find a note that I think sounds really emo, and we're going to stick with that note. Here's our pedal tones. It's just one note dragging across all the chords. And it adds a massive amount of emotion, doesn't it? Pedal tones are really cool, and the idea is really cool behind it. Just having a single note, but you don't get the emotional impact until you've let it play out across all the chords. So you kind of have to wait. You gotta let yourself actually listen to it going over the chord progression. Oh. Yeah, we'll just go down that semitone, back up that semitone. Oh, it sounds really nice. And we'll use the portamento on that one, and then back. All right, let's do it. So I love that. I think that sounds really nice, and we're using the original preset. And we made this preset from scratch, so if you like this sound, you can rewatch the video, go back to the beginning of this stream, and you can make this. But it's a really simple thing anyway. It's just a kind of a Juno sound. But what's important that you'd want to watch in the beginning of that is how I did the ducking envelope. And we talked about some of the chords and how to make the chord shaping sound emotional like this. That's important to go back and watch if you like this and you want to know how to do it. Let's put in that pedal tone. It is this lovely F note. So we could go like this and just go, there we go, F5. And right here we can actually edit it. How long do we want the length of this F5 to be? I want it to go to, oh, now I gotta do math. What is 16 times 6? 60, 6, 36, 86? Is that what I want? Or is it 88? Is that what I want? Or do I want 96? This is one of the things that's really cool about the Deluge, is that you can just hold a note and then pick the next spot. So do I need it to be longer? This doesn't let you go into smaller segments. You have to like manually do it for whatever reason. Mm. 96. Thank you. Okay. Let's jump. We're gonna go 96, and then on this one, there we go. And then here we're gonna go one semitone down from where we were before. We were at an F5. Go away. Thank you. We're gonna go here and we're gonna have this note play for, I think, a bar. So we'll go to 16 steps. And then we're gonna go back at the next one, the next page. Put another note down. This is also gonna play for 16 steps. This is gonna be the back to the F note that we were using, and we want this to also play for a bar. But we want to turn portamento on so that it slides up to that note. And you can actually lock portamento on and the depth of portamento on the triggers, and that's a really cool feature as well. I guess I want that actually to be here, and I don't need it to be as long because the note is going for, wait a second. Is this trig length? Oh wait, no. Okay, never mind. So I don't want that to be 16, I want that to be 8. And I want this page to actually be longer than that. It should be 24, right? I would want 24. And I kind of want... Do I need to change it to mono legato? Let's go to the setup. Let's make it play mode, mono legato. And then we'll make these triggers actually go a little longer so that maybe we actually get to hear that portamento change. Should be way longer than that. Oh, why does that sound good? That could be a good part to the next part of the song. Let's fix up this kick drum. Let's see if there's a good kick drum patch in the Digitone so that I don't have to make one from scratch. That sounds better. Let's see what someone else is doing. Whoa! Sounds a lot like the one I already had. Alright, let's see what happens if we drum and bass this up a little bit, now that we have a nice chord progression. I'm using the Digitone's preset filter, which is really nice. It's this button here. Using snares. The audition's extremely loud for whatever reason. kind of a trip. I don't know. I kind of like that. It is kind of trippy for whatever reason. Let's put like a hat in here. Copy this page, duplicate, go to the next page to make it sound a little different. Copy this page, go to the next page, paste that page, make it sound a little different. Copy this page, go to the next page, paste it on this page. Function yes, play with some modulation. I don't even think that's doing anything. Some real work into this hi-hat patch. That's not too much. Except for a lot of the parameters aren't actually doing anything. I guess it's pretty much just this. For the transient. Yeah. Oh, there's a little bit there. I kind of like this idea. Check this out. Function yes. Now our hi-hats feel really alive. So now we've kind of heard what this chord progression sounds like as a drum and bass track. Let's hear how it sounds if we did something a little more Justice-like. Bring the tempo down below 120 where we started, down to like 100. And I think this might even sound better than the drum and bass version. And I think I'm right about that. I think this sounds better. We could put like an open hat on the off beats. 3, 7, 11, 15. Probably sound pretty good here, and maybe we'll do that, but I think Petri says hi-hats on 5 and 13. Let's hear what Petri's idea sounds like. There you go, Petri. Sounds good with this delay on it. All right, we need a bass like I need LaCroix to sponsor me. That's how badly we need a bass line. Sponsor me. Looking for another sponsor, new sponsor for the channel. Besides my own besides me sponsoring the channel. Because I sponsored the channel. Okay. Alright. Moving on to our bass line. Chords on 9. Pedal tone on 10. Bass line on 11. I actually honestly wouldn't do it this way. I would go bassline, chords, pedal tone. That's what I meant to do. Maybe I'll switch that up. Let's just do it really quick. Copy the track preset, go here, paste the track preset, go back here, copy the pattern, go here, paste the pattern, go here, delete the pattern, go here, and we still have the pattern. Let's go here and put in our bass line. I think I'm going to do, we did the other patch from scratch. Let's check out Swarmer for our bass. Let's see what it can do. Because it's got, it has a sub oscillator, I guess. It can go down octaves or whatever, the other oscillator, I guess. Not like we can't do that with our other synth engines, but yeah. Which filter are we using? Let's use slow pass 4, because I always rave about how good it is. Arpeggiator. Turn it on. We can always mess with the arpeggiator. You know what's too bad, and something you can do on the Octatrack? And we were talking about the M8 versus Digitone earlier, and that's not something we should be comparing these two to. Like, they shouldn't be in a versus battle like Street Fighter style, because it's just not appropriate. But you don't have arpeggiators on it. It has an ARP effects, but it's not the same thing. It's kind of like paraphonic, if you know what I mean. If you're familiar with like a paraphonic synthesizer. I'm not going to explain what I mean by that. If you know, you know. But this has like a true arpeggiator in it, which I really like. Cool. So I want to try something first. So let's just copy our notes from our chords. Just copy the track sequence right over here and paste it, and we're going to immediately get, something kind of appropriate. We can just bring the tone down a couple octaves. Wait. Why am I not hearing it? Error? That's gotta be why. And it just works. Just like works right away. We should duck this arpeggio too. It'll sound like, because we already have the pedal tone. No, it was my modulators. Petri got some good stuff. Petri knows their stuff because asking good questions. All right, let's do the ducking idea because we still can. we ducked the pedal tone too? Right? Because, yeah, what if we did? What was it? No, it was on 7. Yeah, I want to try that out. Wait, was that the pattern? 111.15. Pasting it over to these other. Freck. Did not mean to do that. God damn it. Okay. I gotta go get that note again. 11, 15, 1. Okay. Let's put this note back in here. Which is the note still there? No, it's not. Damn it. What was it? It was a D sharp, I believe. And it went for... Why doesn't that step? 24? Okay, so we kind of cheated with the arpeggiator, right? We took the chord progression, we copied it over to the arpeggiator pattern, and we're just letting it arpeggiate the exact same notes as the chord. Not cool. I mean, it's cool, but it's, you know, it's really cheese. It's too obvious. So we don't want to be so obvious with it. I want to adjust the notes here. But we're going to do function yes, so just save it to a temporary area first. All right, we should be on page 1, step edit. You also make the arpeggiator play it in a different way. Not due to the range. We'll stick with true, but let's change the notes. Our chord is G sharp, our root. Also, shouldn't play all the time. To be like, ba ba da ba da ba ba. Like, we got to add some silence as an instrument, and we need to use silence as an instrument and add some silence in. So it's like. That's what I hear, at least. So let's do that. Let's get out of this chord and let's change the length. I want it to be like... Stop on the 15. So I don't want that to be 15 notes, 15 steps long. And then start back up. And then this one plays, and it only does 15. Let's fix that first, because I think this is actually having the biggest impact. And then we put the note in again. Wait, we gotta copy that. Let's do the same thing here. 15 steps. That little 16th note of silence. Copy the note, paste it, and same thing here. 15 steps. Copy the note and paste it. And I see it, now I like this. That bass line makes way more sense. So let's fix these other arpeggiator notes. Go into our note editor, and we want to play with the G notes, so we'll keep the G. So we don't need these. Yeah. Let's hear how this sounds with these 2 bars so far, or 4 bars. That's kind of cool. I thought the G sharp would sound good there, but it doesn't. We'll try that again. Let's fix this one. So we'll stick with this for now, because I just want to hear how it sounds. Let's go in here and edit this one so it doesn't have those other voicings. Can I move that? No. Yes, I think I can, right? Can't I move this from here down below there? I want to move that. I don't know. Definitely sounding better. Not there, but it's sounding a lot better. Here and I got those C's. Sure, why not? Definitely getting somewhere. Now I need my little accent notes that I talked about like an hour ago. Let's put those in. I think this is our track. And I already know kind of like the sound that I want. I think actually the swarm is going to be how I want this sound. That's kind of what I was thinking. And then 1, 2. Actually, let's... like that. Let's try that. Wait, what was it? Shit. Let's hear how that first part sounds. Let's pan them. Left, right, left, right, left, right. Just kind of edit these. This is page loop, great feature. Hold page when you're in your step edit mode. Select the green trigger. We're looking at page 3. We can jump to a different page. We can loop a different page or add another page to our loop. Great way for editing stuff like this. So let's check this out. This is what we have so far. Like, there's so many things in here that need to be worked out. There's no way I could finish this in a 2-hour period, and we're coming up on the 2-hour mark, and that's where I call it. But we're gonna finish out this line. Maybe I'll tweak a little bit, and then we'll call it. But I think we're really in a good spot so far. Maybe we could quantize that, because I know, like, I probably played that a little sloppy. You can see if I've played it sloppy by holding the trigger down. It's gonna highlight if it's a little bit further down the line, or a little bit behind, maybe. Well, it looks like I was ahead on all of them. Oh, this one was a little behind. If you press it, you can see your micro timing here. Micro timing it and having it not be perfect is not a bad thing. It sounds good. And these aren't too far off. I could probably just leave them. This one was a little bit further than I might want it to be. I can put it on. No, that one's way off. We'll move that one to the right spot. A little closer. That one was pretty much on. Let's do that for these ones too, because I know that shared the same sequence. Not exactly on. We want it to sound like a human being played it. Human being. It's me. That sounded good. Let's go here. Can we do an A? Okay, that works. Let's use this one again. And let's go over here. Let's hear how it sounds. This is our bass line. Maybe the arpeggiator sucks on this, and we should just use like a sine bass or something. Because I'd kind of like this better without that arp. That arp is kind of pissing me off. Yeah, I'm getting rid of it. About this bass line now. I said I was going to get rid of the arp, and now I'm playing with the arp anyway. Alright. Well, let's hear how it sounds without the arp. Let's go to this page. No, this page. And, oh, I guess we'll just leave it here. Shouldn't matter anyway. I can hear the wub wub still. Setup, play mode, mono. let's just see what those root chords were again, which I believe is on here. Oh, that's the pedal tone. And we want to go here. Okay. Where are the chords? Oh, here they are. There we go. I'm sounding a little out of tune with that. The synth, the LFO to the master tune was a little too high. There is you can modulate the fine tune, and that might do a better job. But alas, I did not do that. All right, let's see. What were the chords? We got a G sharp. What? Did I really do G sharp? I didn't do G sharp twice, did I? G sharp. Did I do G sharp twice? Oh, I'm still looking at the same chord even though I'm changing pages. That's why. Okay. G sharp to G. To A sharp. G sharp, D, A sharp. To C. G sharp, G, A sharp, C. Let's just program that in and we'll just have the envelopes duck it again so that we can finish what we started. I want to complete this, you know, and that'll be close enough to complete. So we'll just go like this. God damn, that's not the track I was on. So it was G sharp to G to G sharp to G to A sharp to C, right? Or is it D sharp to C? It can't be 8. Was it really? How am I already forgetting? Does anybody else remember what I said? 1744, that is. What? That does sound good there. Maybe we have it go to the 10. So we'll do 10 steps. And then we'll take that trigger, and on the 11, we'll do 4 steps. Get these resets. And then on the 15, we do 2 steps. Or an eighth note. Okay, that's the idea. Now we want to go in and do the ducking. Or we can just actually steal the parameter directly from here. Copy it, go back over here and paste it right in. That way I don't have to build this concept again. I'm going to copy this page, and I'm going to make it go like this, and of course it's going to duplicate it to all the other pages. now we can kind of experiment with these notes in their current position. These were supposed to be G's. No, we can't copy. We don't need to copy it. We just need to do this. These are... What were they? A sharps. They're supposed to be C's. Big fat low end. Did I just accidentally delete a note? Do that. Go backwards. Spice these up a little bit. I'm hearing a new bass line. Where was it? What if that was? What if it did go? Bop, 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 bop.
did it go? Where did you go, my little friend? Wait, there's supposed to be 12? No, 10. I keep going to this G sharp. Might be a little too much detune going on. first, but some weird like panning going on. I actually kind of like that weird, whatever weird thing is happening right here. Oh, it's polyphonic. What is it about that? It's kind of cool. Ta-da! Hey, we made a track together. I think it sounds pretty cool. Check us out. If we go copy the whole pattern, go here, paste it. Now let's go to these kick drums and just put them like, you know, make them a steadier rhythm. No. Throw another lead on top of that, change the lead around, maybe change some of the bass notes around. You can keep the same chords or adjust the chords, but, you know, move on to the next pattern, expand, copy, paste, iterate, copy, paste, iterate, copy, paste, iterate. Boom, you have a completed track. We went through, we made our very first pattern today. I think it turned out pretty good. We covered a lot of territory on LFOs, trig reset, copy, paste, page loop, some sound design, some drum programming, some good workflow technique, I think, and really showed off what you can pull off on a Digitone. This is a synthesizer. It sounds like something you would make on your DAW, to me. It sounds like something you would make with a sampler and a couple other synthesizers, and we've done it all just in the Digitone II. Cool, right? I think it's a good time. I really like this machine. I think it's a great device. So one of the ways you can support the channel, if you end up liking the Digitone, I have got some affiliate stuff that you can click on and buy, and they'll ship it to you, and they give me a little cut, and it helps pay for the channel. It helps us buy Digitone. It helps me buy more Digitones. Don't you want me to have more Digitones? But I think that's going to be it from me today. I had a great time hanging out with everybody, and thank you for joining for this live stream. Over the course of 2 hours, we were able to make a great sounding pattern. We tried it with a drum and bass at a drum and bass speed and or a drum and bass vibe, and we also tried what I called a justice speed, where I brought it down to about 100, even though this sounds nothing like them at all. This is very just melodic and emo sounding track, which I quite like, and I really enjoy that style of music because you know, I grew up going through listening to a lot of emo type stuff, so it vibes with me. I really like it. But if you like this sort of thing, if you enjoy this kind of content, go ahead and visit patreon.com/EZBOT, and it's free to join, and it means a lot to me. And if you want, you can also sign up for the paid tier, and that supports the channel and gives you access to Octatrack performance templates like the one that you're hearing when I do this. That's all stuff that I made on the Octatrack, and if you have an Octatrack, you can just put it right on your Octatrack, plug your Digitone II into it, and make the exact same sounds, and tweak it, and learn how I made it by getting the project, putting it on your Octatrack. So that's available on Patreon and also Ko-fi.com. Besides that, it's been really nice hanging out with you. Everybody, Happy New Year 2025. Hopefully it's not totally insane. We know it's going to be, especially if you're in the United States. You know what I'm talking about. This is going to be some crazy shit going on. But besides all the insanity, let's at least make some music together. We're still doing the dub techno compilation on the EZBOT Discord. There'll be a link to that in the comments section, which will be down below you here. And you'll be able to join the Discord. You have the signups have kind of already passed, but I just want to remind folks that have already joined in the dub techno compilation that we now have until January 15th to complete your tracks. So if you're doing the dub techno compilation, be sure to finish by January 15th. Okay, and then once it hits January 15th, you'll send me the links, and then we'll do we'll send the compilation out and see if get some listeners. My name's Matthew, aka EZBOT. This has been an episode of Electron Talk. I don't know what number or episode we're on. I look forward to seeing you again next week, and or maybe on Friday. Everybody have a great Happy New Year.